will talk to you about the faith and wisdom. Now, Apostle James told his hearer about these words of faith and wisdom. Now, it is found in James chapter 3. Uh, it says that not many of you should presume to be teachers, my brothers, because you know that we who teach will be judged more strictly. So, in this passage of Apostle James, it is required for a teacher to be above all as an example. So, this faith and wisdom, it must be aligned that if we have faith, we have wisdom, or we should walk wisely. So, Apostle James did not discourage those who want to be teachers, but we must be taught correctly, properly, and in accordance with the scripture. So, in this passage of Apostle James, it says that we all stumble in many ways. If anyone is never at fault in what he says, he is a perfect man, able to keep his whole body in check. So, sometimes we stumble. Now, why we stumble is because we don't like the situation, or we don't like a person who is talking to us. So sometimes we stumble because of others' action, so or other conversation, other talks. So that's why we will sometimes be stumbled. So according to Apostle James, that if anyone is never be at fault in what he says, he is a perfect man. So it says that if you will not uh, be wrong in your what you say, or what you talk, so it means to say that you are a perfect man. So meaning a perfect person, he can talk correctly, he can talk wisely, he can talk the things that no man will stumble. So there is a in application of what James said of this passage. What we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can turn a whole animal. So, can you imagine a horse? A horse that has a bit in his mouth. So, a bit is a small part of a bridle, and a bridle is only as big as the head of a horse, and the horse is many times as big as the head. So, but think about how the tiny bit controls the whole horse. So, can you imagine that small, tiny bit in a bridle? So, a tiny bit in a bridle can control a horse. So, when it is put to the uh, bridle's mouth, in the horse mouth, and the bridle is bigger than the bit, and the bit is a small thing. But when that bit, a small thing bit in a bridle, then it put to the horse mouth, the whole animal can be controlled. What you want to, or where, what direction you want that horse, or if you want the horse to move. So that only a little bit in a bridle. So the whole animal could be controlled. Now, other thing is that, or take ships as an example. Although they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder wherever the pilot wants to go. So, can you imagine a ship, a very big ship? It has a very small rudder. So that small rudder uh, that is that steered a ship. So when there is a strong wind in the ocean or in the seas, the ship will turn around. But if the pilot or the captain will turn the rudder, so the ship will go in what direction the captain wants. So that is a very example, illustration of Apostle James, that he said that a small rudder uh, steered. Okay, so when there is a rudder of the ship, then this rudder will will operated by a captain. So what the captain wants direction, the ship will go to that direction by means of a rudder. So Apostle James says that likewise the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boast. So our tongue is a small part of our body. It cannot be seen outwardly. So it cannot be seen outwardly because it is in an inward part of our mouth. But he said, Apostle James said that the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boast. So we can boast greatly by using our tongue. So the tongue is not Lord's part of the body. But can you imagine Hitler, people such as Hitler, Hussein, and Bin Laden lead entire nations astray with their tongues. So those leaders, they astrayed people by using their tongue. So consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue also is a fire, a world of evil among the parts of our body. It corrupts the whole person, sets the whole course of his life on fire, and it is itself set on fire by hell. Now, if our tongue is not used properly in conversation, in talking, so this tongue will be like a fire, like a wildfire in the forest. So that is how Apostle James said that this part of the body, our tongue, is a very small part, but it can set fire. Now, can you imagine, for example, a husband and wife in the family? If there is arguments between a husband and a wife. Now, why husband and a wife sometimes, or they will depart from each other? Why? It's because of the tongue. It's because of the tongue. When the tongue uh, said what are not good or harmful to anyone, so the tongue will set on fire. So that is how Apostle James said that the tongue is like a fire in the forest, like a wildfire. So uh, in relation to the tongue to other parts of the body is such that a foul tongue corrupts the whole person. Dirty talk makes the whole person dirty, corrupt, despicable. A fiery tongue sets the whole course of his life on fire. It so inflames a person's very being that the effect of his or her life destructive. We can guess easily the source of the foul talk that defiles and destroys. It comes from hell. So uh, the tongue. The tongue is a part of our body that it says here that it can corrupt us. It can corrupt a person. It can defile a person. It can inflame persons very being. So it is destructive if it is not used properly. So our tongue is destructive if it is not used properly. So that's why we must use it properly. So what are the word of wisdom of Apostle James? Now the word of wisdom is this: that who is wise, understanding among you, let him shew it by his good life, by deeds done in the humility that comes from wisdom. So it means to say that if we have wisdom, we can control our tongue. We can control our tongue. If we have wisdom, we must show our good life. So good life is an effect of a good wisdom, or it's a byproduct of a wisdom. So a person who is wise or who has filled with wisdom is a person who has a good life, or a person who can control his tongue. So the lower wisdom is that, according to Apostle James, but if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth. So that is lower wisdom. A person who is boastful, a person who hurts other, a person who deny the truth, or a person who sow lies. So that person is has a lower wisdom. He has a selfish ambition. Then, according to Apostle James, the higher wisdom. But the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. So, a wisdom, a higher wisdom, or a wisdom that comes from God is that first of all is pure, then peace loving. So a person who have a wisdom from God is a peace loving person, considerate, submissive. So it means to say that he submits to leadership. He will not rebuild, or he will not oppose the leadership. He will not oppose who are in leadership. So he or she will submit to the authority. Then full of mercy. So the wisdom that comes from God is full of mercy. Then good fruit. Then impartial and sincere. So that is wisdom from above. So that is the indicator that a person who has wisdom is that he has a pure life, he has a pure motive, he has a pure thought, he has a pure thoughts. Then a wisdom that comes from above is that he is a peace-loving person, considerate, submissive to authority. He will not oppose, he will not fight against leadership. Then full of mercy. Then good fruit. He has a good fruit in his life, and impartial and insincere. So that is wisdom that comes from above. So faith and wisdom. So that's all that I am sharing you today, and God bless to each one of us.